Today we are going to take a look at a very interesting aspect of biology, which is the genetic basis of cancer. Cancer is very closely related to growth and multiplication of cells. A multicellular organism can thrive only when all its cells function in accordance with the rules that govern the cell growth and reproduction. They have to work in cooperation and coherently to carry out the functions of the body. The question is, why does a normal cell suddenly become a rebel or a gunda, whereby it breaks the rules, it divides recklessly, invades other tissue, leaves its position in the body. It uses much more resources than what it's supposed to use, and in some cases it would eventually kill the body in which it lives. Specific molecules that control the progression of a cell through a cell cycle regulate the cell growth in an animal body very meticulously and systematically. An understanding of the normal cell processes and how these processes go wrong in a cancer, this provides a key to the understanding of what triggers cancer. Loss of control of cell cycle is one of the very important and key regulatory features in the development of cancer. You may be aware that there are many types of cancers. Something like more than 100 different diseases are clubbed under the category of cancer. However, all cancer cells share one very important characteristic. They are abnormal cells in which the processes regulating the normal cell division are disrupted. That is, cancer develops from changes that cause a normal cell to acquire abnormal properties and functions. These changes often result from an inherited mutation which may be induced by factors such as X-ray, UV light, use of tobacco, other carcinogenic agents, etc. All evidence suggests that most cancers are not a result of a single change at all, but something like 4 to 7 separate independent events have to take place. These are usually required to convert a normal cell through a series of pre-malignant states into a transformed cell, which will subsequently give you the invasive cancer. Often many years elapse between the first step of initiation of cancer, whereby then the cell gets promoted into development of a cancer or a tumor. The recent developments of molecular biology tools, techniques and the fundamental understanding of biology has helped in diagnosis of potential cancers in a very early stage. In fact, it is possible to diagnose cancers long before the tumors are visible in an animal body. Let us just take a look at what is cancer. Cancer results from a series of molecular events that fundamentally alter the normal properties of a cell. In cancer cells, the normal growth regulatory and stringently controlled systems that prevent the cell overgrowth and invasion of other tissues are disabled. These altered cells then divide and grow in the presence of signals which normally should stop the cell growth or cell division, and therefore they do not require any selective or specific signals to induce cell growth and differentiation. So it is really a question of uncontrolled growth and proliferation of cells, whereby the normal rules and laws of the cell are not obeyed. As these cells now grow to develop newer characteristics, including changes in cell structure, cell morphology, they have decreased cell adhesion and they produce a number of new enzymes. How are the normal cells getting converted into cancer cells? And one of the answers to this is the mutation, which is a genetic change. A change in the sequence of DNA is a mutation. These changes are heritable and these allow the cell and the progeny to divide and grow even in the presence of normal cells. Generally, if you have a group of normal cells, one of the cells will not disobey and start growing at a much higher rate. But such changes which are due to mutations allow the cancer cell to spread from its original place and invade other tissues. So for example, a cell in the lung which has now become a cancerous cell will start growing at that place, will leave that place and go literally wandering all over your body, and this is what happens in metastasis. The abnormalities in the cancer cell usually result from mutations, and these mutations are most often in the protein coding genes that regulate cell division. Over time, once a particular gene gets mutated, more and more genes acquire mutations. The genes that make proteins that normally repair DNA damage are themselves not functioning normally, because then they also get mutated. In fact, it is something like a mutator phenotype. Having one mutation causes other genes to mutate at a faster rate. Consequently, mutations begin to increase in these cells, causing further abnormalities in the cell division processes and the daughters of these cells. Some of these mutated cells will die, the body will take care of it, the system will clear it. However, other alterations may give an abnormal cell the survival advantage, a selective advantage, because of which it will multiply much more rapidly than the normal cell. This enhanced growth describes most cancer cells which have gained functions repressed in a normal healthy cells. As long as these cells remain in their original location, they are considered as benign because they will be localized. If they become invasive, they are considered as malignant. Cancer cells in malignant tumors often metastasize, sending cancer cells to distant sites in the body where they can initiate new and additional tumor formation. So essentially, if one thinks of steps which will convert a normal somatic cell in a body to a cancer cell, these are the events. The normal cell has to show a property which is called as transformation, a cancerous transformation. It also has to be associated with immortalization. Normally all cells have a finite lifespan, but cancer cells can continue to grow indefinitely. Then they have to acquire the property of invasiveness, and last is the metastasis. The properties which a transformed cell displays are quickly summarized in the following points. It shows loss of contact inhibition. So when the cells start becoming confluent, they will stop dividing, but cancer cells keep piling up and do not obey these laws. They have ability to form colonies in soft agar. They have altered cell architecture, the actin filaments, the cytoskeleton is totally altered, so you can differentiate between the normal and the transformed cell. They demonstrate increased secretion of protease, which helps them to become invasive. They have decreased requirement for growth factor and therefore can grow in less concentration of serum. They show increased agglutinability by lectins, thereby showing typical changes in the polysaccharides which are present on the cell surface, which are really the decorating molecules which help in cell-cell interaction and recognition. They acquire unlimited growth potential, which we have already seen, but they also have a faster growth rate. Compared to a normal cell, a cancer cell not only continues to divide, but divides at a much faster rate. And last but not the least is the immortality that it acquires. Now let us just see why and how cancer is considered as a hereditary change, thereby having a genetic background. Cancer, we have seen, is also associated with unrestricted growth and proliferation. When a cancer cell divides, the two progeny cells or the daughter cells, they continue to have this property of unrestricted growth and proliferation. So the heritability is there in this property. Hundreds of generations can occur in a cancer cell when the cell is cultured in laboratory without any appreciable reversion to a normal state, again showing a genetic change. The heritability of the change suggests that the genetic change is within the chromosomal DNA, and this is what underlies this changed phenotype of these cells. It is noticed that very often mutations, which we call as somatic mutations, which occur in our body cells, are responsible for cancer. Very often you find that cancer cells possess abnormal chromosomes. They have rearrangements, they have translocations, they have extra chromosomes, they have small fragments of chromosomes which are attached to additional chromosomes. Mutagens And in fact, carcinogens which act as mutagens like chemicals and radiation, these are very important causative agents of cancer. In fact, out of the 35,000 genes which are known to be present in a human being, only a small number has been shown to be associated with cancer. Just take a look at this beautiful cancer cell which shows you the organization and how the cell divides. This particular picture shows you the differences in the structure of the normal cell and the cancer cell. Please notice that not only the cell morphology, but the structure of the nuclei and many other properties associated with it are altered in it. This slide explains to you how in a normally growing cell inside the tissue, one particular cell changes. It may then continue to grow as we talked about it and then start moving to other places. We all know that genes are the functional units of the DNA which is contained in the genome. Alterations in these genes is what is associated with cancer. So, let us take a look at which genes may be involved and what kind of changes may be responsible for inducing cancer. These malfunctioning genes can be broadly classified into three groups. Okay. One of the group is called as the oncogenes. It came as a big surprise that the genes which are responsible for causing cancer are not some other genes which are brought from elsewhere, but they are our own normal genes which undergo changes or alterations. So, the cellular normal counterparts of oncogenes are called as proto-oncogenes. These produce proteins which perform key regulatory functions in the cell growth, development, differentiation and cell multiplication. The mutated forms of the genes are called as oncogenes. The second group, which is responsible for causing cancer, are called as tumor suppressors. These cells normally regulate cell growth. So, if there is a mutation or a change in such a gene, then this regulation is lost, and as a result the cell starts growing in an uncontrolled fashion. The third group are the DNA repair genes. The job of these proteins which are encoded by the DNA repair gene is to maintain the integrity of the genome. Now, when these genes themselves get mutated, they will not be able to continue to faithfully replicate the DNA, whereby newer mutations can keep accumulating and they would also act as mutator genes or cancer causing genes. Proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes can be thought of as working as brake and accelerator in the process of regulating cell growth and development. The proto-oncogenes, when they get converted to, let us see how one can talk about it. The normal speed of a car can be maintained by an appropriate use of this accelerator and the brake. Now, in a controlled cell growth, if you have regulation of proto-oncogenes where their normal growth and function is happening, you have proper accelerated growth, and the anti-oncogenes or the tumor suppressor genes are allowing to slow down the growth or ensure that normal growth is maintained. If you have mutations in oncogenes which make accelerated growth, the cell will start growing rapidly. However, the tumor suppressor genes may still prevent the growth because you can apply the brake little stronger. But if now the tumor suppressor gene also gets mutated, of course we have a collection of genes which are called as oncogenes, a collection of genes which are called as tumor suppressor genes. And in this case, if both are altered, that means you are not able to stop the brake is not functioning properly and you are accelerating faster, then you are going to speed up, and this results in uncontrolled growth and proliferation. A proto-oncogene is thus a normal gene which can become an oncogene because of its mutation, and whereby it may have increased expression or altered expression, or it may start working in a wrong place. For example, an embryonic gene which has a function of working in embryos starts working in liver. You will agree with me that that can cause problems because that is going to change the growth pattern of an organism. Interestingly, these proto-oncogenes code for proteins that help to promote and regulate cell growth and differentiation. Proto-oncogenes are often involved in signal transduction. So, for example, if a signal comes at the cell surface, proto-oncogenes will tell the cell that now it has to divide. Now, when such a proto-oncogene may become oncogenic, it will not wait for the signal to come, and in absence of the signal it will continue to stimulate the cell to grow, whereby again the cell starts growing indefinitely. There are also genes which are involved in implementing the mitogenic signals or regulating the cell cycles, like the cell cycle control points or CDCs. Upon activation, a proto-oncogene becomes a tumor inducing agent, which is now called as an oncogene. Examples of such proto-oncogenes are RAS, MYC, SRC and so on. The term of converting a proto-oncogene to an oncogene is called as an activation event. A mutation within a proto-oncogene that can cause a change in the protein structure, whereby there is either an increase in the protein or the enzyme activity, or there is a loss of regulation, there is more of protein made or altered protein made. The second thing is that you can have an increase in protein concentration, that will also cause a problem. You can have increase in protein stability. You could have gene duplication or amplification of the gene. So, if let us say from one of this gene you are making 10 copies of the protein, if the gene amplifies and you have 40 or 100 copies, you will have 1400 protein molecules which are not required, and they will start then stimulating the cell. Sometimes, interestingly, a translocation of a chromosome, that is removing a gene from its original place and putting it in front of another promoter, this happens in case of leukemias. Immunoglobulins are expressed, which are the genes which produce antibodies, are expressed in lymphoid tissue. Now, if a growth regulatory gene is translocated and put in front of this immunoglobulin regulator, then instead of this MYC functioning where it should function, it will start functioning in these leukocytes and you have leukemias. This is actually very interesting, that the embryonic cells do display certain properties, or the stem cells, which make you think about the cancer cell. So, this is really a question of growth regulation, development and differentiation. Mutations in microRNAs or small RNAs, which so small RNAs regulate gene expression. Now, if you have mutations in the small RNAs or microRNAs, it has been seen that these can also lead to an oncogenic change and work effectively as oncogenes. Let us just take a look at what the signaling is in relation to oncogene function. So, oncogenes and signal transduction in normal cells is very stringently regulated. Okay. So, proto-oncogenes code for proteins which send a signal to the nucleus, whereby new genes are activated, new proteins are made, cell phenotype changes, mitogens are induced and the cell proliferation starts. These signaling proteins act in a series of steps which are called as cascades of signal transduction, and these are very stringently regulated, and these pathways have a lot of crosstalk, and you can really build up a complex network of such signaling molecules in the cell. Now, these cascades include, let us say, a membrane receptor or protein kinase, an intermediary protein which may link these two, and then you may have transcription factors which grow and switch on the gene that is required inside the nucleus, or you may have a protein which will stimulate the kinases, whereby it will keep phosphorylating and giving a signal that the cell has to start dividing. Now, in each step of this pathway, one factor or one protein interacts and activates another protein. So, this is like a signal relay or a relay race that takes place. Now, some factor can activate more than one protein. So, there are some proteins which are in a sense promiscuous, they have many partners and they can interact and stimulate a large number of proteins. Now, let us see what is an oncogene in the context of what we have discussed up to now. So, oncogenes are thus altered versions of proto-oncogenes or genes that code for the signaling molecules. The oncogenes activate signaling cascades continuously, resulting in increased production of factors that will stimulate growth. For instance, MYC, which is a proto-oncogene, every time a cell goes through a cell cycle, gets stimulated for division, MYC is activated. This codes for a transcription factor. Now, if there are mutations in MYC which convert it to oncogene, this will become a cancer producing event, and in a large number of cancers, severity of the cancers or even 70% of the cancers are associated with MYC alteration in some way or other. MYC is a nuclear effector, and by using a whole lot of novel technologies, it may be possible to have a much better cure or at least management of cancer. I think this sort of sums up a very exciting area which is the genetics or heredity of cancer. Thank you very much.